Welcome to the Keystone Initiative. Today, we are talking about what it takes to be that locking force in the fast-paced world of cybersecurity and technology. Joining us are two incredible leaders who serve as the keystones for their respective organizations. Please welcome my good friend, Nemi George, Vice President of Information Security at PDS Health, and Amy Blackshaw, Senior Vice President of Product Marketing at CyberArk. Nemi and Amy, welcome to the Keystone Initiative.
Thank you.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Let's start at the foundation, your backgrounds, and how you got to where you are today. Amy, I want to start with you. You have over 20 years of experience in tech and 15 in cybersecurity. You have a bachelor's from UMass and an MBA from Simmons University. But what stands out for me is that you are a CISSP, a technical certification. That is rare for a marketing executive. How did your educational background and that technical understanding shape your journey from net witnesses from RSA to becoming the SVP at CyberArk?
I love this question because I think I get to surprise people with my answer. And my surprise is that I have such an atypical background. My undergrad is a Bachelor of Fine Arts in dance. And so I was a professional dancer in my previous career. So that means at the age of 2, I started to dance. I had a very supportive family that said, this is what you want to do. We're going to send you to college. I moved to New York City. I was auditioning, amongst thousands of other people trying to make it. I was lucky enough to perform professionally for about 4 years, and then I retired. And when I retired, I said, I'm done with dancing. It was great, but now I want to go do something completely different. And I threw myself into the next phase of my career, which wasn't initially in cybersecurity, but it was in tech. I went and got my MBA. I landed in EMC, which owned RSA at the time. And I was in a leadership development program post-MBA, where my first rotation was into the RSA business unit. And I looked around and I said, wow, cybersecurity is so much more interesting than spinning disk. Sorry, storage folks. And from there, I just grew my career in cybersecurity, getting my CISSP eventually. And so the reason why I love this question is because I don't have a magical path. I can't say I'm a marketer that is technical because of my background. What I can say is I'm super curious. I love diving deep. I love communicating, and I love understanding complex situations and being able to explain them to business users.
Maybe turning to you. You are the VP of InfoSec and CISO at PDS Health. You serve on various boards, such as ISEC Orange County chapter, where you were president the previous term. You and I serve on the same board. Recently, your team won a major CSO cybersecurity award for building an integrated controls framework in a highly complex healthcare environment. You have also won Zero Trust Award from CyberArk. When you look back at your early career, what were the building blocks that prepared you to take on the massive responsibility of securing such a large distributed healthcare network? Because ultimately, the buck stops at you. So what prepared you, if you look back 20 years back, what prepared you to be here today?
Well, great question. And in my case, it literally was 20 years back. I like to say I had my first grown-up job, and my role was technical product architecture. And so my very first introduction to real corporate enterprise security was being that middleman between technical architecture, technical pre-sales, and the marketing team. And so it really meant one thing: communication. I had to understand very clearly what the product teams were looking to sell, what they were looking to get across, make sure that the architecture was, what was required to deliver on that promise. And ultimately that the sales teams had all they needed to be able to go into a customer and, be able to sell successfully. Now, underneath all of that, Amy mentioned the word curiosity. For me, that was a big part of my early career, was curiosity, but also asking the follow-up question. So I'll give a very simple example without hopefully mentioning the name of some of these vendors. But we were delivering a service, we call this SDM, so Secure Device Manager. And this was a white label solution from another vendor, and we were their biggest partner. And so I was speaking to my product marketing team, and I said, what's underneath all of this marketing? What is different between our offering, the XSDM solution, versus what the vendor was selling, right?
Right.
And there was nothing. It was literally a label. It was marketing. And I said, well, since we are calling this SDM, Secure Device Manager, can we actually build in controls that make it more secure so we could truly say we're selling a more secure solution? And that started everything from just the personnel, right? The personnel working on this had to be security cleared. They had to have this level of
Sure.
training. We needed to have certain level of accreditation from the government and all the three-letter agencies. We had to change the architecture of the solution to make it harder to hack into and break into and compromise and all of that. Anyway, that's what got me into security. I didn't wake up going to work thinking I want to be a security professional. I was just in a position where we had to sell products and people were slapping labels on these products that I felt were simply untrue. And to put my name behind it, to say we're going to market with something that is inherently more secure than what the other person is selling, I had to make sure it was secure. And that started me down the path of security architecture,
Sure.
security frameworks, and you mentioned the award that we just received. And that's carried until today, right? Making sure we can bring in these frameworks to build, act as the baseline for forming our security program so we don't miss anything along the way.
I knew you were a troublemaker, but now I'm hearing it. It totally makes sense. It aligns all of it, Name. I want to pivot to
Absolutely.
I want to pivot to the concept of mentorship and leadership, the core of Keystone Initiative. In architecture, the Keystone fails, the structure doesn't hold. We know that. As leaders, you carry that weight and responsibility. Amy, leading a high-performing product marketing team requires serious alignment. How do you view your role as Keystone for your team at CyberArk, and who was a Keystone in your career that locked your potential into place?
It's a great question. I think product marketing oftentimes sits at this intersection between product, sales, and the market at large. And
Right.
we do have to act as a translator, as somebody who understands requirements, understands abilities, and understands demand, and sits across and sort of gets alignment so that the go-to-market motion shows up, as Nemi says, being truthful, number one, and not being made up around functions that don't work or vaporware. There's nothing worse than that. So being aligned really helps drive this authenticity in market. And I think product marketing really helps that. And then for me, I think I have so many people who have helped me out in my career to
Sure.
enable me to see the potential of being someone that can be technical without having a technical background, be somebody who came from a fine arts background, holds court within a technology company. And some of that is just true belief in your core abilities. And there are 4 or 5 of my previous mentors, people still in my life, that really helped me unlock that ability. And
Good.
I'm ever grateful.
And we talk a lot about that as a leader. Sometimes it's asking for help, asking for mentorship. It's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of confidence that you need mentorship from someone that you look up to. Maybe same concept to you. In healthcare security, the stakes are literal patient outcomes. You've talked about managing risk in a way that supports the business. We talked about that in the past podcast as well. How do you mentor your emerging security leaders or new leaders that's joining your team to be proactive rather than just reactive? To be the architects, as to your point, of resilience other than just firefighting or whack-a-mole?
The one thing I say about mentoring and security leadership is it's really not optional, right? If you think about, I'm going to say something that's going to draw a lot of hate, but if you think about let's say the automotive industry, outside of maybe the last sort of 10 years where we've seen a giant leap in electric vehicles and all of that,
Mhm.
working in a factory in in an older manufacturing plant has largely remained the same for several decades, right? Then you take that into the cyberspace,
It's
and
new.
every sort of 5 to 10 years, we see a quantum leap in technology, in threat actors, in the entire landscape, right? It was
Right.
cloud a few years ago, then it was AI, and then now it's agentic AIs, all of these things. So my point is, as a leader, if you're not mentoring people, if you're not motivating people, if you're not empowering people to
Mhm.
learn and do more and be better than they were when they came in to your organization, then you have a team that is always going to be behind. And mentorship takes on several different forms. It's empowering people to train. It's rewarding people for the right behaviors, making sure everyone feels empowered and everyone feels like they have a voice and they're part of your success and ultimately your security. But it's also taking the time one-on-one to spot people with potential, right? Not everybody is cut out to put in the extra hours to do all the work that is
Right.
required. My CEO at my current company said something that he doesn't believe or like the phrase work-life balance, because everyone goes on about one being done at the expense of the other. And he talks more about work-life harmony. And
One
that's a
feeds the other.
concept which is you've got to, one feeds the other, and you've got to be able to manage and know when to push, pull, give or take, and kind of balance it. So not everyone is cut out for that. And so mentoring for me is doing all the things that I said initially, but also taking a step back and looking for the one, the two or three, and it's usually a handful of people who are willing and able to really stretch themselves, want stretch assignments, they want stretch goals, they want to be tested, and make sure you work alongside them. Make sure you have true open door policies for them to come to you. And in a lot of cases, we're going to run up against blockers at work. And as a mentor, you just need to be able to be the person to knock on that door, send that email, or unblock that thing that is holding them back, and then just let them fly and let them do what they've got set in their hearts to do.
Let me ask this question to both of you, actually. I know as leaders, you're busy. You have a lot going on, obviously, the day job and then the personal lives. When someone is asking for mentorship, how do you carve out the time? And how do you know this is going to be the most effective for the mentee and for you as well? Because it's a two-way street, right? It's not just one way. So how do you know? How do you evaluate that request and know what is the right way forward? Or do you recommend someone else?
Yeah, I think it really depends. And mentorship, in my experience, although
It really depends. I literally have it printed.
that's amazing. I couldn't have planned that better. It depends, because a lot of mentorship can be sort of formalized, right?
Sure.
You ask for a mentor, or sometimes there's programs in which organizations set up mentor and mentoree, and those are fabulous. That can have really good payoff for both people.
Sure.
I think there is also just the natural mentorship that happens throughout one's career
Organically.
And for
Yes.
me, those are the ones that, as a mentor, you find, in my experience, early, and it is investment in them, it's investment in yourself, and it's investment in the organization. And so that time that is being spent is 100% return on investment. Like, it
Totally.
is absolutely worth it. I also like to think that my team, the people that report into me, all of our relationships have mentorship involvement. It might not be an official mentorship, but as Nemi was saying, like, I believe in giving context, being as transparent as possible. I hire smart people. I trust them to do their job. I give them the context that they need, and I unblock things for them. That's also mentorship.
Right.
So management and leadership get intertwined at some point with mentorship. And I like being able to mentor people, even if it's not in an official capacity,
Right.
as on my team or as I'm interacting with them. And again, the return on that is, there's no question, it's valuable.
Fair point. Nemi, I know you personally, so I know you mentor a lot of people, including myself. But same question. When someone is approaching you, someone is asking you, hey, Nemi, I would like you to be my mentor. How do you evaluate? And where do you actually take them from there?
Well, the first thing I will say is there's never an exact science, right? There's some people, we've all spoken at events and all the sort of things. You get off stage and there's 12, 13 people waiting to get your card, and they're like, oh, you were wonderful. You said all these things. Like, it just blew my mind and all that stuff. And I would love to be in touch. And then that's the last you ever hear. Right. So there is a lot of people who have an initial interest, whatever it is that piques their interest, but in a lot of cases there isn't that follow through. And it's very difficult for you to decipher that first. Now, I have a method that I kind of use when I'm talking to people, and it's really understanding why. What's the why behind it? And I do that with four very simple questions. I know, what's your knowledge? What do you know? Are you looking for me to mentor you in an area where you have actual knowledge, right? Educational knowledge, but you're just looking to get to the next level?
Okay.
Or it could be that you have experience in something, you're really great at networking, you just don't know how to take it to the next level. So that's the experience part of it. The third is, what do you have natural aptitude for? And this is where sometimes you have to have some hard conversations with people. You may really want to do something. Let's take public speaking. You may want a mentor to help you with public speaking, but it's just not something you have an aptitude for. It just doesn't come naturally to you.
Right.
That's not to say you shouldn't pursue it or you should, you should go ahead with it. But knowing what you have a natural affinity
Right.
for allows you to know what the barriers are and how much work you
I
need
like
to put
it.
in to get there. And then the final thing is, what are you passionate about? Because if you're not passionate about it, then, my mentoring suddenly becomes like therapy. It's like, it's Friday, 4 o'clock again. I've got to go speak to Nemi. And it's a waste of your time. It's a waste of my time. And so once I have that conversation with people, as best as I'm able to, I get to have a sense of, who's got staying power, who's going to come back. And the other thing I say about mentoring is I always look for opportunities, and this is difficult if they don't work for you, which, mentors, you should be able to mentor people outside of your organization. But when they don't work for you, it's sometimes a little more difficult for you to give them easy wins, quick wins that they can build
Right.
the confidence on so they can feel that they're getting something out of it. But just to summarize, I think you never truly know, but you have to push through some initial resistance, some initial hesitation. But the person who is looking to do it is also, they're going to have that staying power and really want to push in. And hopefully together you unlock something that has been laying dormant inside of someone. Because I'll say one last thing. I talk to my teams and I ask this question a lot of times. What makes a good leader? Because a lot of people aspire to leadership. I'm like, well, what makes a good leader? What makes you a leader? What makes you someone that should inspire others? And I always jump in and I answer the question before they get to. I'm like, well, I can tell you the answer. Not the smartest, certainly not the most experienced person in the room, right? None of those make a great leader. And, one of the things that I tell them as a challenge folks is you need to be able to make decisions. You need to be able to make true business change. You need to be able to inspire people to follow you and all of those types of things. And once people understand what leadership truly means, they realize that it's not the years of experience. You don't need years of experience to inspire people. You don't need years of experience to back yourself, like Amy mentioned at the start, going from a dancing background into cybersecurity. Huge element there of you looking yourself in the mirror and saying, I back myself that I can do this. It's not years of experience. It's not years of dancing that makes you strong. It's a mindset. And once you have that mindset, you can unlock a lot of doors.
I really enjoy that framework. Education, experience, appetite, and passion. So go with that to really define the mentorship dynamics for mentee and the mentor. I love it. All right. We're talking about a lot of serious stuff. It is time to take up the pressure off the arc for a moment. It is our fireball section, rapid fire questions. First thing that comes to mind, we'll just say it and we'll alternate. Amy, you first. Which is one cybersecurity buzzword you wish to just make it disappear?
Single pane of glass. Not a word, but
silver bullet or silver single pane of glass. I'm with Nemi 100%.
Careful, he's English. He's gonna go off script here.
100%.
here.
Amy, you. What is your favorite productivity hack or app you can't live without?
Productivity. I am an efficiency freak, so I hate wasting time. I do believe in multitasking, like working out while you're reading and getting caught up on your news, right? Or your emails, listening to AI report of your calendar for the next day while you're driving into work. So I leverage a lot of, while I need to do something, go for a walk, work out, get to work, I'm multitasking and getting ready for the next thing. And that's how I sort of don't waste time when I get into the office to get caught up on the day.
So I have a follow-up question, Amy, for you. Productivity seems like physical and mental together, but is it too mental? Can you watch 2 TV shows together?
My children, when I look down, I'm like, how are you watching something, playing a game and listening to something? All of it, like, how does your brain, that can't be good for you.
Yeah.
So no, I have to be doing something and listening or listening and doing.
Right, physical and mental. Like that's, okay, that's productivity and efficiency. Got it. Maybe if you were not in cybersecurity or tech, I think I know the answer to this. What completely different profession would you be in?
Medical doctor.
I had not thought about that, actually. I had something different in mind. All right. And why? Why is that? Just a passion?
I've always been fascinated about the human body, and I grew up really sick, all manner of allergies and whatnot. And so I've always been fascinated about just taking my health into my hands and learning as much as I can. And I just think it's
Got it.
just is the is the greatest machine that ever walked the earth, and I think it's fun learning about it.
Well, you're in that profession. You are helping doctors. So thank you.
True.
Amy, what is a common piece of leadership advice that you completely disagree with?
Leadership advice that I completely agree with. Bad leaders. This is bad leadership advice, which is better, right? Like you need to tell your team, you need to drive that result. You need to, because like I said, I fully believe that if you hire the right people, they know better. They will
Trust them.
answer and trust them. So I do not believe I know better in many scenarios.
Got it. Navy, best city you have ever traveled for a conference or business trip?
That's a tough one. Best city, New Orleans.
New Orleans. Okay. What do they have? Gumba, something like that. The favorite dish.
I had
Gumbo.
beignets and I had alligator and I had a whole bunch of stuff that I probably would not eat again. But yeah,
Gator there too. That's funny.
Nice. Amy, any one book, podcast, please recommend mine, or resource you recommend to someone stepping into leadership role for the first time?
I'll share one that Udi Makati, founder and previous CEO and chairman of CyberArk, shared with me, The Happiness Advantage. It is flipping the equation on the head that if you are successful, you would become happy. And it's a mind power, positive thinking. It's not fluffy, some people think. It's truly some science. And I think it's the way that I thought about my leadership style, and I think it can help a lot of people.
Amy, same for you. Book, podcast, resource, anything that for someone who's just stepping into leadership role.
4 Disciplines of Execution.
Right on.
Book by I think Sean McConaughey, and it's a great book for just turning ideas and to-dos into actionable, executable plan.
Right on. That brings us to the end of our session. Nemi and Amy, thank you for your time, your insights, and for showing us what it means to be keystone of a modern organization. Thank you so much for both of you.